Hello, and welcome back to this Houdini tutorial. This is part 6, layout, cameras, and lights. We're working on the soccer ball, or football, if you're from anywhere else besides America, North America. And so today, we're going to be working on adding some cameras and lights. Now, this is a lot of work, and I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten confused myself trying to do this. So I'm going to try and move slow, and just follow the instructions as they're stated in the PDF. So let's get moving. The first thing we're going to need to do is change up some of the stuff we have in our geometry here. So we're just going to add a couple new nodes. So we're going to look for a match size node, enter that in there, move it a little bit. And that was actually match axis, so let's delete that. Right click on the output, we need match size. And we're just going to go to justify Y and press that to min. And once we display that, we'll see that our soccer ball is now above the ground rather than stuck in some kind of limbo between the negative and positive. And now we're just going to right click on that output and look for null. We're going to put a null node here and name that geometry out. And that's just kind of a practice, standard practice that you should keep, or we should keep when we finish a network chain. Just have a null node so that people know that it's finished. And so we're just going to add a null node, and we're going to set its display and it's rendered to true, and that has finished up our soccer ball geo. So now we're going to switch up desktops. So go to switch to our Solaris desktop, we're going to go to build, click on Solaris, and now we're on our Solaris desktop. Right now we can see our network view is currently in the path of object. We need to change that to the stage path. So we're going to click on stage. And now we need to import our scene. So to import a scene, this is step 2. We're just going to press tab, scene, import, add that node. Okay, and so now we have our force objects part of the parameter field. We're going to click here, and we're just going to choose our soccer ball geometry. Mine's named soccer ball geos 2, yours might be soccer ball geo, or whatever you've chosen to name it. Click on accept pattern, and now we see our soccer balls within our viewport. We can press spacebar H to look at it better. Okay, now we're going to press on to step 3. So we're going to tab and we're going to type out grid. We're going to add this node above and we're just going to rename it and call it backdrop. Now we're going to press I to go inside this node. And we're just going to go down here to little grid and we're going to set this size to 80 by 80. So that's going to be an 80 by 80 grid. And then we're going to want that center at 0, 0, center at 0, 0, negative 20, according to the PDF. So 0, 0, negative 20. And now we're going to add a bend. So we're going to right click on the output, type in bend. And so we're just going to click and we're going to go set that display to true. And now we're going to set our bend angle to 75 degrees. Alright, and now in the capture, we're going to go at capture origin. We're going to set that to 0, 0, negative 30. And for capture direction, we're going to go 0, 0, negative 1. And then for capture length, we're going to go to 5. And then at the output here, we're just going to put in a subdivide node. So add that node at the end. And this little subdivide, we're just going to get our squares and cut them in half. So just put in 2 and set that to display, and you can see that all our squares have been cut in half. Now let's go back to the stage, so press U and let's move on. So first, step 4, we're going to wire our backdrop into our scene import, and so now our ball is on top of the backdrop. So if we zoom out here, you can see that our ball is on top of our scene import. So that's what we wanted. And now we're going to right click on our scene import and type in camera. And we're just going to add a camera node. Now I have my construction pane activated. If you don't have it activated, you're going to have bold grid lines. I have construction pane activated, so it's easier to snap things onto the axes that I want. And now we're just going to move the camera so we're looking at our ball from the left. So let's see if we can spot our camera. So let's actually just display our camera. So there's our camera. So let's just Control Z that. Let's move along the y-axis. So we want to be looking at it from the left. So let's move the y-axis out, and then so Control Y to get back. So it's looking at it from the left, and now we just wanna bring it back. So bring it back along this left line. Set our camera right there. Oh, there. Sorry. All right, and so now our camera is from the left. We have our display on camera, so let's move to step 5. All right, so in step 5, we're gonna click on No Cam, switch to our camera. So now we're viewing everything through the lens of our camera, and we're just gonna see if we can find our scene here. Because honestly, this is probably the easiest way to actually get anything done when trying to view the soccer ball. It can be a bit frustrating working with cameras. Again, I'm a beginner, so I don't know a ton. I'm just doing the best that I can. So we should probably just play around with this camera a little bit and try and get it where we need. So, whoop. That's what I forgot. This y-axis of the camera needs to be up. So let's bring it down a little bit. Okay. Okay, so now our camera should be looking head on at the ball. Let's just move this up again. Alright. Okay, so our camera seems to be looking dead on at the ball. Oop. Jeez. This thing can be so frustrating sometimes. Okay, cool. So switch back to our camera view. Go back to camera. See what our look is like. Okay. So we can see the ball, obviously. So we're just going to change this to lock. And so now we can move this like we move our perspective view. So we can just change it with the space bar. And so we really want to be looking at this from the left. So let's just pan around until we get to the left side. So this is viewing from the left side. Now we're just going to zoom out a little bit. Center on the ball, zoom out, center on the ball, and now we're just gonna look up. Okay, all nice and centered. All right, cool. So now that we have our camera put in position, we can just unclick this lock button. So we can toggle off the lock button. And so now we can go to lights and camera. So we're going to go to the lights and camera shelf, which is right up here, and we're going to click on environment light. So click on that. And then we're going to press enter to put it at the origin. That didn't, whoop, okay, so there we go. So now it is placed at the origin. All right. So let's set the intensity to 0.5 in order to bring it down a bit. Now let's see if we can bring this light up a little. Actually, no. Let's just leave it at the origin where it was set. I believe it's going to be shining from below. All right, and now this is gonna be one of the hardest parts to do, rendering. So, well, it's not, rendering, it's just giving us a preview. But now we're gonna change this to Karma in order to see how things look. And so this is gonna take a little bit of a minute as things load. You might hear my computer in the background. I'm sorry, my fans are like super loud. I need to buy some new fans someday, but for now we just kind of have to deal with it. And if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can turn on the optics denoise, which is right down here. And supposedly that's supposed to make it go on faster. Actually, those numbers seem to be going a lot faster. So we'll just let that go on for a little bit and wait for it to render. Okay, so that is rendered, and now we're going to move on to step 7. So we're going to go to the lights and camera shelf and click on the point light. So go back up here, click on point light, and we're just going to click on enter to set it at the origin. And so that's going to take another couple seconds to render. Right now we're looking through the light. We'd like to change it to the camera, so scope here and change the view to our camera. And this is going to render again, but we can move on. So now we're just going to click on the light node, make sure that it's the active node we're working on, and we're just going to press Shift F to enter shadow mode. Now you can also click up here to just click on shadow or specular or whatever mode that you like. You can click on those manually to get there. So Shift F just gets us there quicker. So we're in shadow mode, and we're just going to wait a minute or two while this renders, and then we'll add whatever lighting we need to put up next. Alright, so our render is done, and now we can move on to step 7, or finish up step 7. So right now we are in shadow mode, and we're going to want to click on the top of the ball to set a pivot point, and then shift click to put a point near the ground. So clicking near the top of the ball, so let's go right around here. We'll set a pivot point there, and then we're going to shift click where we want our light to land, so we'll just have it land over here. Okay, and now we can control drag to set the light distance. So that's the distance the light is away from the soccer ball, and by rotating your the middle mouse button, you can change the increment. So I could go by increments of 50 if I wished, but I'm gonna go by increments of 10, and I'm just gonna put my light maybe 50 meters ish. Just down to 50 meters. And then if we shift, control, and drag, we can change the intensity. So that's going to change how bright the light is. So if I go by increments of 50 here, I can change the brightness so that it's much brighter. And I could even change it by increments of thousands, but I don't want to go that far. I'll blow my computer up. So I'll go by 500 until it looks moderately bright. And I'm going to go with 8,000 here. I think that's a pretty good light right there. So if you wanted to change that up, you could of course decrease the intensity and increase the light's closeness to the ball. Say I have at 1900 here, and I just move the light closer. Then I could have a similarly bright light. So I think I'll just leave it at the 50 meters I had, and at the intensity of 8,000. I think that's what I want it to be, around there. Yeah, close enough. Alright, so that's step 7 completed. And now in the network, so we're just going to wait for this to render, and then we'll move on to this next step. So another time skip, we'll just wait on it for a little bit. Alright, that's finished rendering up, so we can move on to step 8. We're going to right click on the point light node, and we're going to type light. So we're going to right click on the output, we're going to type in light, and we're going to set that display's flag to true. And then with the node active, we're going to press Shift S to turn on specular mode. Let's just Control X that point. Shift S, or you can click up here to turn on specular mode. And we're going to click on the right side of the ball to define a specular area of focus. So right around here, according to the PDF. So Shift S, and we want a light a little bit deeper in the bar, kind of right here. And then if we do Control Drag and Control Shift Drag, we can change intensity and distance, just like with the other lights. So let's do Control That'll just change the radii. So control, set to display. Okay, I'm gonna put it here. We just want to change that distance. We don't want to change the angle, we just want to change the distance. So I'm trying to press control and drag here. There we go. So we're going to put the light around 10 meters out, and then we're going to change the intensity to, let's go by 25. Okay, so we're just want a little bit of a back shadow. So let's increment that to 100. It's a bit bright. We don't want like a bright spot or anything, so let's just go down until just a bit of a bright spot. Right around 100 should be okay. So 105. We'll keep that, and we'll go to step 9. So now we're gonna right click on the node, and we're gonna put in a mixer. So search mixer, and we're just gonna scroll out, scroll back in, and we're just gonna add that. Okay, cool. And so now in the light mixer, we're gonna set the display flag. While that renders out, we're gonna move these over into the right, all our lights, and then we're gonna turn on sliders so we can see the sliders for them. And now, so this is a pretty cool feature of Houdini that I'd like to show you after this finished rendering. So I'll let this finish rendering, and then I'll show you some of the cool features we can do with lights. Alright, so if we press star, we can just see one light on its own. So let's look at the dome light by itself. Alright, so things aren't very bright. Let's look at our first light by itself. This is light 1. So that's just casting a bit of a shadow, and then light 2, our point light, is really what's giving our ball's definition. So I'm just going to set some of these values, change up the exposure a little bit, match what they've got on the Houdini PowerPoint as best I can. Turn on this solo light, and let's play with this one, just exposure just a little, because it's already pretty bright on the ball. Okay, and then we can leave the dome light as it is. And so we play around with the exposure a little, and we think like things where they are. If you wanted to, you could set max values on all of these by right clicking and locking the parameter, but there's no need for all of that. So that's the lighting for now. So if there are any questions that you have, make sure to hit me up in the comments. I understand this is probably one of the most confusing parts of the soccer ball, and it can be a lot to go through, right? Especially the camera work. This is the first time I've ever worked with any 3D software, Houdini being my first, so I had to watch a couple videos, but you know, when it comes to learning the cameras, moving things around, it's really just best to play with the software yourself and see where you land. Because if you're going to be using this on the day-to-day, if you're going to want to be doing this for a hobby, you're going to be moving these things around yourself all the time, so it's just good to have practice. And so today we've set up the cameras, we've set up a couple of lights, we set up a light mixer so we could change up the exposure and the brightness and intensity of all these lights. And now the ball is almost done rendering, and we'll move on to the next lesson after that. So I'd like to thank you all for watching, and have a great day.